Good evening everybody and welcome to what is set to be a thrilling evening of racing once again, because this is the final race weekend for the season of the BSR Carrera Cup here on BSR TV on YouTube. Scott Woodward's here once again, back with Marcus Narris. And Marcus, we're at a circuit that of course you know very well and it's one of my personal favourites. We're at the Grand Prix circuit for Brands Hatch, and to be honest, let's cut to the chase. What a circuit this place is.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. There are very few circuits anywhere in the world, I think, that have the character and the atmosphere. Now the UK's leading GT circuit. They're hosting no fewer than 5 national or international GT championship races at Brands this year. So it's great to be running on the circuit with these GT3 spec RIF 12 track cars. It's an awesome circuit and it's going to be some great racing.
And of course, to match that, we've got a great championship battle also in the mix as well, and we can have a look at the championship standings coming into our final race weekend to see exactly how this possibly could play out. Effectively, realistically, we only have 2 championship contenders. It's going to be either between Stefan Hug for esimages.net or Ian D. Smythe for Epicuri Banana. Looking at how they come into this, they are pretty much equal on races started and races counted. They're equal on victories with 3 apiece. But Hug leads it with 11 top 5s and 12 top 10s. He has a lead of 30 points over Ian D. Smythe coming into the final race weekend. And of course, both have completed every single lap of the race of those races as well. They're both at 159, the most out of anyone else on the championship table. So really, Marcus, these two are going to be at it hammer and tongs for the 3 races tonight. And when we leave Brands Hatch, of course, it has to be said, we are going to crown a champion.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's fair to say that most of the hammering is going to need to be done by Ian D. Smythe, being 30 points behind Stefan Hug. Stefan knows that all he needs to do is do what he does well, which is, bring the car home, have a comfortable run, not do anything silly. That said, this circuit can be tight and twisty. There's always fun and games up and around Druids. Paddock Hill Bend can be a challenge, and out on the long circuit, which we're using tonight, Sheen can be fun. So the potential's there for Hug to have a problem, and if he does, you can guarantee that Ian D. Smythe will capitalise.
Well, Stefan Hug currently leads the warm-up, but only just by Michael Rasmussen, who's decided to join us for this race weekend, and he's currently second quickest, only about 0.04 of a second off the fastest time on this one. But Ian D. Smythe only 8th quickest on a 124.359, so he's almost 9/10 down. But obviously we know, Marcus, warm-up is nowhere near the representation for exactly where these guys are going to be in the racing course. So I'm sure that Ian D. Smythe, he's probably more in race mode than hot lap mode in warm-up. So surely that's not a true representation of where he's going to be. And I'm pretty sure, looking at how his qualifying has been, hopefully we'll get a chance to see exactly how they're going to line up, and hopefully Smythe will be on the pace to chase after Hug for the championship title. Yeah,
I'm absolutely certain he will be in the pre-qualification and qualifying that we saw just now before the transmission went live. These guys were running very, very low 23s. A couple of guys dipped into the 122s, so it certainly isn't representative of the ultimate pace. And bear in mind, it takes a good 3 or 4 laps for the tyres on these things to come up to temperature. So these guys, I imagine, will be shaving a few tenths off as we move into the last 30 seconds or so of this warm-up session.
And also we can look at just behind the championship battle to see who's going to be our BSR Carrera Cup champion. We've got, of course, battles all the way down the points everywhere you look. I mean, of course, some of our surprises, people like Alain Tessier is going to want to get as many points as he can to jump up the order, of course. I mean, he has a potential chance to even crack himself into the top 20, provided results go his way and he's able to score a couple of decent points finishes. But of course, guys directly behind the top 2, Gary Tor, Robert Plumley, Cyril Thomas, Matt Maloney's up there in 6th place. I mean, they're all fairly close together. I mean, if you look at how they all sit currently, between 6th and 9th, there's 11 points in it. So effectively, and also between the battle, we've got Gary Tor on 590 points, Robert Plumley on 567, and Cyril Thomas on 551. In both of these championship battles, it only takes one bad result in any of these 3 races, and it can drastically change the order in which any of these guys are sat in the title race.
Yeah, absolutely, and it doesn't take very much. As I said, people could have accidents around here. There could be incidents, and these guys are going to be fighting hard all through the top 10. So, there's going to be no let off from anyone. It's going to be a very, very competitive night's racing. But as you can see from the top 5 we've got at the moment, it's the results, it's the finishes that seem to bear fruit. Just look at Robert Plumley in 4th place. He's only managed 1 top 5 finish all season, but what he does is he keeps bringing the car home, and it's led to a good position for him in the championship. But yeah, these guys will be going hell for leather from lap 1 all the way through to the last lap of the last race tonight.
Let's quickly run down the top 10 before they get started for the first race. It's Tessier on pole with Hug second, then Jean-Christophe Godard third and Gary Toll, then O'Leary and Smythe in row 3, Rasmussen and Steve on row 4, and then Dion Phillips and George Lee Wright running up the top 10. And waiting for the revs then to make sure we get started underway for race number 1. Lights are up and away we go, and a decent start from Tessier on the inside as the field scrambles away from the line, but already Hug is going to the outside to try and get the whole shot into Paddock Hill Bend. He's being daring by going around the outside, using a bit of the runoff, kicks him a bit of dust, and Tessier and Hug are still side by side up towards the first time at Druids. Andy Smythe is already up to 4th place, and look at the challenge he's made around Gary Toole, and already looking to pressure. The chance that is in 3rd position has moved down. I can't quite see it. It's number 13. Oh, what a huge instant in the background. Somebody has gone up and over onto their roof. It's Michael Stephen in the 305, and the 015 Dion Phillips was also involved. He had some troubles in warm-up as he got hit up at a spin and then got hit up there as well. We've got a couple of cars also up in the background as well. I think possibly one of them could be the 007. No, there's not the 007 of Andy Shield. There's definitely a couple of collisions up in there, but so far they seem to be trying to push their way forward as they head down onto the back of the circuit for the first time. We're already, Malcolm, we've got a top 3 breaking away.
Yeah, absolutely. That incident, unfortunately, Michael Stephen went far too deep into Graham Hill Bend there, trying to get up the inside of Gary Toole it was, and unfortunately just caught the back of Gary Toole's car, which threw him offline. He counter steered and it just sent him spinning across the circuit. So a little bit too much excitement in the opening laps there from Michael Stephen by the looks of it, but most people are still running. I think the only real casualty was Michael Stephen himself, but yeah, these guys, as I say, they're going to be racing hard, and we should expect more of that as the night wears on.
Across the stripe for the first time, Tessier leads it by a quarter of a second. Hug in 2nd place, then Jean-Christophe Godard 3rd. Smythe is in 4th. He needs to get himself up higher to try and get closer to Hug to take points off him in the championship fight, and Gary Toole in 5th. And we've got a breakaway pack of 5 already, separated by 1.3 seconds. Next pack is led by George Lee Wright, up 4 spots off where he qualified in 10th. He's up to 6th. Diane Dame is in 7th place. Matt Malone, number 24, is up to 8th, with Paul Thurston and Linus Broström rounding up the top 10, but he's coming under pressure now from Andy Shield in the 007. Cyril Thomas is up there as well, number 888, sorry, and Hosiel made it 13th, back of the pack outside the top 10. So as they head now down Pilgrim's Drop and down towards Hawthorns and then Westfield, this time Tessier currently holding the gap, and this is exactly what he needs to start moving himself up through the order, because as we said, if he gets himself enough points with 3 victories, he could easily get himself up into the top 20, provided other results go his way.
Yeah, absolutely, and there's as you correctly said, there's racing all over the circuit. We didn't see it in the transmission, but there was also an incident on that first lap up at Druids, which unfortunately for him cost Robert Plumley quite badly. He's in the pits taking repairs, so he's going to find himself a long way down. So bad luck for the driver in 4th place. Michael Stephen finds himself down in 32nd place after all of that fun and games. So yeah, it's really shaking up in the top 10. It'll be interesting to see where we go from here.
Lap times to come, and the first time I've asked you, we've got cars already coming out of the pits, which could possibly cause problems, obviously, for the cars just behind the top 5. As all Tessier kicks a bit of dust on the exit of Paddock Hill Bend, and that allows Hug to close. Lap times last time around, Tessier pumped in a 1:24.046. He was about a tenth quicker than Hug to hold on to that gap. A 1:23.9 though from Jean-Christophe Godard in the 13 to close that gap by a further tenth. 1:24.4 from Gary Toole, and a 1:25.2 from Ian D. Smythe, but he's holding on to the tail of Gary Toole. But Mark, it's fair to say that Smythe not showing the pace that we used to see him charging through the field, so either he's not comfortable with the car, or he's having problems trying to get around Gary Toole. He's 5th place, not going to win the championship.
No, absolutely, and he really needs to get a move on. I don't think he will ultimately struggle to get past Gary Toole. Obviously, these guys being teammates, I think Gary Toole will probably do the right thing, but he's certainly all over the back of him now. He seems very, very quick through that Hawthorn section along the Minter Straight and into Westfield. But as they come onto the older Indy circuit, he just seems to drop away a little bit from Gary Toole. But you're right, Ian D. Smythe really needs to get a move on, or he's not only going to struggle with his teammate in front of him, but he's being slowly but surely reeled in by George Wright in 6th place.
Coming up to finish 1/4 distance, and the top 5 remains practically, in fact the top 10 in fact remains unchanged. In fact, there's no changes really than most of the order. Top 13 is covered by 8.5 seconds, and then the next pack is headed by William Bota in the 302. More dust kicked up, I think, either from Alain Tessier or Stefan Hug, and Hug is closing through Druids, but don't forget Jean-Christophe Godard. Lap times last time around, 123.6 for Tessier, a 23.5 for Hook, and a 23.523. So out of the three of them, once again, Goddard's the quickest, and he's certainly taking advantage of a double toe down the straight to get a bit more straight line speed. And I think now, Marcus, at this point, I mean, right now, Stefan Hoog, we're talking about how Andy Smythe's in a difficult position. Let's talk about Stefan Hoog. He's in a catch-22 situation. He has to attack Tessier, but defend from Goddard. And of course, to try to deal with two cars at once, that's going to cause him problems.
Yeah, but he'll know that, you know, he doesn't have to do anything stupid, and ultimately, if he does see a bit of a lunge coming from Goddard behind him, he can just give that place up and he'll still be in front of Andy Smythe, and that's all he has to do tonight. And he'll be well aware of that. All he needs to do is just finish in front of Andy Smythe if he can do. So, sure, he'll be going for the win here, but he's not going to do anything stupid to try and take that first place.
We're looking back behind.
Oh, indeed, it's been given to him, it's been handed to him. It looks like Tessier's dropped it, coming out of Sterling's there, and just as I say that, Stefan Hoog finds himself alone out in the lead, nearly gets it wrong going through Clark Curve, but yeah, he's off in the distance, all on his own.
And George Lee Wright just got absolutely sucker punched by somebody. I couldn't see exactly who that was. It might have been possibly, not sure someone can tell who that was. But somebody just drove straight into the front of George Lee Wright. He's currently back in the pits. But that was an almighty incident. I mean, also Matt Malone got collected as well.
Yeah, it was it looks like it was all part of the same incident to me. I'll just go back and have a look at it, but I think it was the recovering Tessier car. I'm not sure. Let me have a look.
Well, Tessier got away. He got away, obviously, as the incident occurred. Of course, Matt Malone did clip George Lee Wright, and somebody just came straight into the middle, head on George Lee Wright, and that's the reason why he's back in the pits out of what could have been a great sixth position. But back out in front, of course, through all of that, I mean, the man who's in the plum seat is of course Stefan Hoog, who is now up there in the lead now, and up by 1.3 seconds on Jean-Christophe Goddard, who seems to have dropped back after Tessier made a spun. But Gary Tall has pulled away and closed up right onto the back of Goddard right now, and he's actually dropped Andy Smythe and possibly had to take avoidance as a result of the spinning Tessier. Tessier himself actually looking exactly where he is. He's all the way back down in 24th place, still going. But that car is looking a little bit, no damage on the car, but he's certainly lost a lot of time as the pack streamed past him, and he's ahead of the 72 car of Stephen Hefford, who that car is also looking a little bit bent and worse for wear. Also, George Lee Wright, if he is back out on the racetrack, he is at the moment. He's had a bit of he's had a fast toe, and he's currently circulating now in the position of 28th. He is currently the gap on that one, if I can find it, 1 minute and 2 seconds behind the leader. Hoog now the gap up to 1.3 seconds now, of course, and Gary Tall certainly keeping Goddard honest. So we've got to fight for second place here, but I mean, you're surprised that we've got a spinner actually, and now that is somebody spun up at Surtees on a run in the middle of the corner. He's on the apex. I can't quite catch who that was, but it was kind of like a peach and green coloured machine, so we'll have to get some information on that one. But are you surprised at how much Andy Smythe has dropped back? You know he had to try and take avoidance of Tessier, but really he just hasn't been showing the pace that we used to see throughout the season. He's charging through the field, taking the places he needs. I mean, it just doesn't seem to be the car and the circuit don't seem to be gelling here this weekend.
No, and just as we look at him now, he's just driven up the circuit again, coming through Westfield Bend, and I'm not sure what's going on, if there's damage in that car or he's just not feeling it tonight, but his last lap was a 1:25.9, so that's a long way down, and compare that to his teammate Gary Toole just in front of him, who turned a 1:23.4, so there's something certainly not right with that car. We've only had two laps from Andy Smythe so far in the 24s, and the quick guys are running 23, so I'll certainly keep an eye on him, and we'll see what's going on there, but all is not right with the world in that number 6 machine.
Great scrap going on for 6th, just behind the top 5. It's been led by Tien Damas in the 301, currently being put under pressure through Paddock Hill Bend by Matt Malone. Of course, if you want to watch this onboard for the next 2 races, it's twitch.tv/showdown1983 to get an onboard view of exactly what Matt Malone's seeing. Now, somebody's dropped it up at Drew's because there's fresh tyre marks and smoke, so somebody's had a spin on the exit of that corner. But we've got a great battle going on here. 6th, 7th and 8th. In fact, it's almost becoming a 5-car train because we've got Malone in, it's over, actually 5th place, of course. I've forgotten that we've lost Tessier. So it's Dames in 5th, Malone 6th, Linus Brostrom up to 7th, with Paul Thurston and Jose Almeida also scrapping themselves with Dion Phillips in the mix as well. So a great scrap going on between these 5 for the best of the rest in the top 10, certainly providing the most action, as the top 4 kind of just pulling away and not really racing themselves too hard.
Yeah, absolutely. These guys are only going to hold themselves up by battling this hard. But that said, this is over 5th place, and these guys will be wanting to get that top 5 finish. It looks like it's settling down a little bit up front. So certainly the focus of the action now is this little fight. There's a good fight going on for 17th, 18th, and 19th place between Andy Shield, Craig Burleson, and Clark Preck. But certainly these what is now 5 cars are where the main action is at the moment.
I guess the closest battle in anywhere near the lead is still that fight going on for second between Goddard and Toole, because there's still a half a second gap between them, and last time around Goddard was 0.2 of a second quicker. Toole is certainly keeping Goddard in his sight. Someone's dropped it on the exit of Graham Hill Bend, and it's on the infield. I couldn't quite catch who that was.
It's Anthony Woodward back in 25th place. He's a lap down, so he's well out of the way there.
Thank you very much. So Anthony Woodward probably causing himself some problems, and it's intriguing, but is it me, or will Goddard's closed the gap now to Hug? I wonder if it's possibly caused by traffic, but that gap's come down to less than a second. I mean, if you look at Hug's last lap time, that was a 24.0, so out of this trio, Goddard once again the fastest man. Now, either that's Hug backing it off because he knows he's got enough point, he's way ahead of Swire at the moment, he's got a 4.5 second advantage between the two of them. Either that's that, or he's possibly got caught up by traffic. Either way, that gap's visibly closer, and Goddard's on the pace here. He's pushing. He can sense a victory here.
I think at this stage of the race, I think Goddard is just flat out quicker. I think he's just faster than Stefan Hug for whatever reason. He seems to be driving a tighter line. Hug, ran a couple of wheels off the circuit there in a couple of places, and with the modern rules, that would be getting him told off by the clerk of the course for that. But he just doesn't seem quite as neat and tidy. Goddard looks very, very tidy, and he's definitely reeling him in.
Lap times last time around, and Goddard once again the fastest of the trio. Hug with a 23.4, Goddard a 23.1, Toole 23.2. So that gap came down by 0.3 of a second. It's now down to just over 0.6 as they head down the back straight towards Surtees Corner, the long left-hander that takes them off onto the Grand Prix circuit. Head towards Pilgrim's Drop underneath the bridge. Huge plunge downhill towards Hawthorns.
They're just about to catch some very, very slow, damaged traffic. Stephen Burke and James Hickson just in front of Stefan Hug, that leading trio just up the road, just got together quite hard, coming out of Surtees onto the back straight, and these guys are having to navigate a couple of very slow cars now. Hickson doing the right thing and getting well out of the way, but he's in a very slow, very battered looking roof.
And also what's intriguing is he's talking about that battle going on behind for 5th position, and Matt Malone's dropped back to 8th, and he's now fighting with Jose Almeida in the 58 car, the yellow and black machine. But so that gap is still going on, but that's also a high intensity fight between Tien Dames and Lawrence Broston, but also Paul Thurston is putting himself into the mix there, and that's over 5th, 6th and 7th. Cross the line again, and seems that Stefan Hug has picked the pace up again, 123.6, Goddard 123.7, 123.671 for Gary Toole, so pretty much even on the lap times, and all of them are roughly roundabout. As I think we've lost Andy Swire. He's dropped it on the exit of Paddock Hill Bend, and he now I think has dropped behind. He hasn't dropped behind the battle for 5th. He's got plenty of a gap, but Swire's still struggling out there, and he's going to be asking questions of his car and his setup come the second race, because this is not the pace, as we said, that we're used to seeing up in this championship.
Yeah, he was quite lucky there. He's just got on the gas a little bit early, and with the compression down the hill, the rear end grips, and it's thrown him round. He's not gone all the way around, but he's cost himself a few seconds there. Sorry,
I've just seen change for second. Goddard has lost second place to Gary Toole. And whether or not that was a mistake coming XT30, but I just saw Gary Toole right on the tail of him and just sailed past him down Pilgrim's Drop towards Hawthorns. So there's been a change. Second place, Gary Toole now is free to chase after Stefan Hug, although Hug has now dropped them actually by a couple of seconds on this lap already, so I'm not sure if there was either some contact or if possibly the reason Goddard lost it and Toole had to check up in order to avoid making a collision. But they're coming on to the penultimate lap now. Stefan Hug with a visible gap. It looks as though it's at least 2 seconds or so. We'll get a measure of it right now as they come across the line. And it is... I was right there, but almost 2 seconds, 1.9 to be exact. And Goddard's dropped way back. In fact, he's now back by a further 1.4. So something's wrong with that car, or he's having problems with the setup later in the race.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there. He was definitely very, very slow coming out of Surtees again and down the back straight and dropping down Hawthorn Hill. Gary Toole was just quicker and just parked it on the inside line going into Hawthorns, and that will slow both cars down. They won't be able to go through Hawthorns at anything like racing speed. So that would explain why Gary Toole lost a little bit of time, but I'm at a bit of a loss to explain why Jean-Christophe Goddard has all of a sudden seemed to be turning slower lap times. He certainly seems to be dropping off.
William Botha, who was in the top 10, has got a very battered motor car. That kind of thing is crabbing major suspension damage as he brings the number 302 machine into the pits, and that car is incredibly worse for wear, which I don't want to get that fast tracked and repaired for the second race, but definitely having some problems out there as he brings it in, literally crabbing into his pit box. And that thing is possibly done for the day, unless they're probably not going to get that car repaired in time before the end of the race, so he's probably just going to be sat there in vain for the next few minutes. Back towards the front, and as Stefan Hug continues to lead, he brings the number 3 machine onto the pit straight to start the final lap, and the gap has increased. I think once again, what is it now? It's bigger now. It's back by a further 9/10, so it's now 2.8 seconds, and Goddard's struggling because he's dropped that gap. Now it was about compared to the leader, it was about 3.4. Now it's up to 7 seconds between him and Hug. So something's wrong with that 13 car. We say 13's an unlucky number. It's been lucky for Goddard most of the race, but seemingly letting them down in the final couple of laps because all is not well with Goddard's machine. He's struggling on the last lap.
Yeah, he seems to be going slowly, and just to explain, Willem Botha unfortunately was caught out by a spinning Matt Malone going down the Minter Straight coming out of Hawthorns. He came around the corner to find Matt Malone parked in the middle of the circuit and had nowhere to go. Collected him, slowed down, and was then collected again by another car, so he really was worked over.
Well, a lot of drivers have found this Brands Hatch circuit very challenging, but that's what makes it one of the best circuits in the country and in the world. And effectively, the likes of Gary Toole and Jean-Christophe Goddard have pushed hard to try and at least get a result. Goddard's actually gone straight on! Goddard goes straight on up at Westfield, and he's actually out of the race. So that really was, I'm not sure what on earth happened there, whether it was suspension problems, but Goddard out of third place, which means it now puts Andy Smythe onto the podium. Well, this man won't know that because Stefan Hug will come towards the line to take his 4th victory of the season. Across the line he comes. Hug takes race 1 and major championship points and advantage in the championship fight. Gary Toole will come home in 2nd place, and after binning it at Westfield, it means Ian D. Smythe, despite the poor pace he's been showing, it's still good enough to inherit a podium place on the final lap. So that was rather extraordinary. But Marcus, I'm not sure if you could see exactly what was wrong. We couldn't really tell what was wrong with Goddard's car. It just went straight on at Westfield Bend and straight into the tyres.
Yeah, I'm currently looking at it through his view, if you like, through his cockpit window. One of the advantages we have with sim racing, of course, is that we can put ourselves in any position on the track, and it looks intentional. I'll be honest with you. He follows a normal line through Hawthorns. I'm just looking at it now, down the Minter Straight, starts to brake and turn in for the right-hander at Westfield, and then just straightens the steering wheel up and stamps on the accelerator again. I don't know if he thought the race had finished the lap before or what's gone on there, but yeah, have no idea at all.
Very mystifying scenes there for Jean-Christophe Goddard, but of course he will start to tumble down the classification, and that is, I've certainly not really seen someone do that before in sim racing, if at all, if not for a very long time. But of course what it does mean is that, of course, we said Ian D. Smythe, despite being off the pace and seemingly having problems with the setup of that 06 car, it means he gets onto the podium and at least minimises the blow which has been inflicted by Stefan Hug, who takes another race victory. And obviously, Marcus, I'm sure either or someone has the points in terms of who gets scored what, but of course a 30-point advantage. I mean, Hug has now extended it once again, so effectively all he has to do is get a good result and score enough points in this second race, and I'm pretty sure that unless something major happens to Ian D. Smythe that means he gets 0 points, I think that Hug potentially could even clinch the championship either in race 2 or in the final race of the day. But either way, Hug is going the right way about becoming crowned the champion.
Well, there's a large number of points awarded for each race, so I think it will mathematically go down to the final race of the season, unless Gary Toole has an absolute shocker in this second race. But Stefan Hug now absolutely has a much better idea of what he needs to do. He just needs to park his car in and around Ian D. Smythe and just do what he needs to do to get the result.
I have a feeling you may even start playing teasing games, or just the hovering in front of Ian D. Smythe, just to kind of like see exactly what he's make sure he doesn't gain any kind of advantages going forward. And but I'm sure possibly Stefan Hug wouldn't really do that. Of course, I'm sure he's the bigger man of that one, and would happily score the championship in a much fairer way than that. But let's run down the finishing order then for race number 1 of the evening, and it is Stefan Hug who takes an important race victory in his quest for the championship this evening. He wins it by 3 seconds from Gary Tall in second. Andy Smythe, as we've seen, inheriting that podium after the mysterious actions from Jean-Christophe Godard on the final lap. We saw him literally, what we believe possibly could be intentionally running into the tyres up at Westfield. Why that's happened, we have no idea whatsoever. Ten Dames came through the carnage and managed to finish 4th. A great result for him, ahead of Linus Broström. He should be very happy with 5th. Paul Thurston, 6th place, ahead of Jose Almeida in 7th. Dion Phillips is 8th in the 015, with Tony McCallum and Matt Malone, who had a very eventful race, ran as high as 6th position, I believe, but ended up 10th after a couple of spins. Andy Shield in the 007 finishes 11th, ahead of Benjamin Gregory in 12th. Craig Burleson finishes 13th, ahead of Clark Preck in 14th. And George Lee Wright, the final car to finish on the lead lap, albeit 1 minute and 13.5 seconds behind race winner Stefan Hug. Rest of the top 20 are all a lap down. Jean-Christophe Godard is classified 16th still, despite retiring on the final lap, with Michael Hornby 17th, and Eckhart Vaughan Glan, Darrell Taylor and Cyril Thomas rounding out the top 20. And that particularly rounds out the coverage for race 1. We've still got, of course, 2 more races left to go and a championship to decide, so don't go anywhere, of course, apart from to the next broadcast for the race. So simply click back onto the main BSR page, click on the link for race number 2 at Brands Hatch, and in a few minutes time, myself and Marcus will be back in a few minutes to host all the action, so stay tuned and we'll see you over on the next broadcast.